Ladies and gentlemen, international broadcaster and chair of the Royal African Society, Ms. Zeinab Badawi.
Assalamu alaikum. It's wonderful to be with you here in Saudi Arabia. Good morning, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Zeinab Badawi, or I should say, since I'm in an Arabic-speaking country, Zeinab Badawi. Really wonderful to be with you at this SAGIA Global Competitiveness Conference. So it is my pleasure to be presiding over this session, which is on transport and the race against time, a connected global economy. And we've got 4 wonderful panelist members who are going to be talking to us from their perspectives about the importance of a good transport infrastructure in order to increase a country's competitiveness. And of course, this comes against the background of a huge drive here in Saudi Arabia to the tune of $140 billion over the next decade or so, investment in transport infrastructure primarily. And so this discussion really is going to feed into a very live debate that's been going on in this country, in which I know a lot of investors are interested to learn more about them. So just very quickly to run through our panel, we have here Deputy Minister Rocío Ruiz, who is the Deputy Minister of Mexico for Competitiveness and Business Regulation. And then we have next to her Faisal Bafarat, who is known, of course, to you at SAGIA. He is the lead executive director for investment development here at SAGIA, very much focusing on transport. And then next to him is Philippe Casgrain. He's French-Canadian, so if you're in the French-speaking part, you say Philippe Casgrain, and he is from Bombardier Transportation. He's vice president of this region for Bombardier Transportation. And then Byrne, CEO of Flynas. So thank you very much indeed. Faisal, let's start off with you. So I have to say, to be quite frank with you, that Saudi Arabia has been extremely neglectful in developing its transport infrastructure. You have a love affair with the car. We know why. Don't have to go into that. But you're rather, trying to catch up now, this race that you've got to improve your public transport infrastructure. Because if you don't have a car in Saudi Arabia, you're finished. And this is causing huge problems for you because, your roads are getting more and more blocked, and you don't have a means for mass transport. So just set the scene for us. You recognize the problems. This is holding back your competitiveness. What are you doing about it?
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon or good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Zeinab. Indeed, it's been a long journey. Today, we live in a unique time of history in Saudi Arabia, and particularly for the transport section. We recognize the importance of the transport sector in transforming Saudi into a logistical hub, given the geographical favorable position of Saudi as a natural bridge between Europe and Asia, between the rapidly growing East Africa and South Asia as well. So the government planned for a massive modernization plan to its transportation sector.
So tell us about what you're doing.
Yes, so you mentioned a number. Actually, this number you mentioned, the 140, it's only for land transport. The number is $200 billion across all sectors, air, sea, and land. On air, we're planning to spend $25 billion in developing and privatizing plus 19 airports across the kingdom. On sea, we plan to spend 25 billion US dollars in operating and maintaining the maritime assets. On land, we plan to spend 140 billion US dollars in 5 metro systems, Riyadh, Jeddah, Medina, Mecca, and Dammam, and 5,500 rail projects and the bus system that's supporting that. So through all this spend, we see a unique opportunities for Saudi to leverage this spend and this project in building advanced manufacturing industry in Saudi, making Saudi a true logistical hub of the region. A royal decree was issued a couple of years ago to Ministry of Transport, GACA, Port Authority to work in coordination, developing investment plan for transport. This investment plan is well under its way, so hopefully in Q1 and Q2 of 2016, you will hear of a couple of mega deals coming out of this plan.
Okay, and when can we expect the first metro to actually be working so that people can go in, buy their ticket, jump on that train and go wherever they want?
Actually, they changed the timing, so it's been a moving target, but the last I heard, it's 2018 is when we are going to see the first metro in operation.
Beginning of 2018 or the end?
I don't have the
man who's hedging his bets. Good, good, good. Deputy Minister, just to ask you very quickly, briefly at the beginning, Mexico is renowned for its very, very cheap mass public transportation. You've got buses, you've got a very extensive metro network. So just tell us a little bit about the system that you have, the local transport system.
Yes, improve the infrastructure and transportation networks are a very important aspect behind the level of productivity and competitiveness of our country. That's why Mexican government has highlighted that it's the most tangible way to transform a nation. Among the action implemented, we have a national infrastructure plan, and this plan has some sectors that are very important. We are developing transport, communication, energy, health, water, urban development, and tourism. It's not a work that we can do sector by sector. It's an integrated plan to develop all the infrastructure in Mexico. As you know, we have a very high level in the north of our country, but we don't have it the south of the country. So we are trying to connect the south with the north so we can have a more resources for the south, that is where the more poor people live. So we are, Mexico is well connected. We have 76 operational airports, 64 are international, 117 seaports, 68 are international, but even though we have the south of Mexico is not well connected. That's why in the infrastructure plan, we are trying to do railroad or road or something to develop the south that could connect the Pacific with the Atlantic, and that would be a very important way to develop not only the transportation but all the region.
And do you find that because the south is less well connected, that therefore there is less competitiveness in that part of the country? The very clear link between the two.
Yes, but because we began the transportation development since 2000 years. But as you know, all the connectivity is done to United States. As the Mexican economy is very related to the United States economy, most of things that we produce, automobiles, airplanes, medical devices, are produced to be exported to the United States. The priority in the design of the economy and competitiveness policy is how we can sell all these things in other markets. Mainly in the United States. We are trying to to export to other countries because we have 11 free trade agreements with other countries, with European, South America, and Asia. And we are going to close to finish the negotiation with the TPP. And we want to export to other countries. But mainly, we have been base our economy in sell so many products, manufactured products, value-added products, but only to the United States.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Deputy Minister. Philippe Casgrain, from Bombardier Transportation, you're obviously one of the world leaders when it comes to rail and metro systems and that kind of thing. And you've actually got some projects here in Saudi Arabia, including the metro and some airport transport network. So just tell us a bit about what you're doing here and the kind of challenges you've met.
So currently we are the supplier of the heart for the Haramain high-speed train that will link the two holy cities with the Jeddah, the new Jeddah airport in Jeddah. We are also working and currently installing an airport people mover within the new Jeddah airport. We are also building a monorail in the King Abdullah Financial District, not too far from here. And as mentioned, we are producing the vehicle for one of the metro line for the Metro Riyadh. I think you have all seen the construction. So it's building 6 line, and we will provide the vehicle from one of the line. So in terms of the challenges, I think one of the thing is the industry is relatively new here. The people are not used to public transportation. The resources to perform the project is quite difficult. So when we've started a few years ago with the first project, we had to develop a specific program to develop the resources. We built a project management academy so that we could take young people from the university and train them for 2 years so that they become expert into the train and public transportation field. We've brought a lot of them in some of our developing center or manufacturing center throughout the world so that we can start to build the capability. And I must say that when we see now the Metro Riyadh organization, we can see that the capability are starting to build. We see it also as other cities, as you mentioned a bit earlier, are in the planning phase of their system. And we see a bit more maturity on how to develop, how to integrate the system, because it's not only the metro, as you mentioned, the vehicles are already running, but it's all about the feeder, it's all about the door-to-door, how do we make sure that people will leave the station, go to their home. This whole integration needs to be developed, and for instance, the city of Jeddah is having a very comprehensive plan to basically not only do the metro system, but also the light rail system, the tram system, even the boat that could link some of those stations, so they have a comprehensive view on how things should be going forward.
And again, do you have a timeline at all for some of these key projects, when we might see them actually in operation?
I think it's one of the constraints because, as I said, those are big challenge. I must say, the challenge that the city of Riyadh has decided to build 6 lines at the same time, 180 kilometers within 5 years, 80 stations is a huge challenge. So as far as we are concerned, the vehicles are, we're starting to build the vehicle in the fall. We will send 2 trains in Canada to start testing, and hopefully by the end of this year, the first vehicle here to be ready once the infrastructures are ready.
You're not expected to do it all, are you, by yourselves?
No.
Yeah.
But it's a huge achievement. There's not many cities who decided. Usually they will progressively go line by line. The plan was to build the 6 lines, and it's a big challenge.
So Byrne, CEO of Flynas, when it comes to air travel, in Saudi Arabia, obviously a big country. That is, by comparison to these other projects we've been hearing about, a much more mature form of transport. And Flynas came in on the scene just under 10 years ago. So now you are a duopoly. Only Saudi airline and Flynas can operate in Saudi Arabia, connecting cities and so on. You've also got ambitions to expand in the region. So in terms of air connectivity in Saudi Arabia, are you happy?
Yes. We've, as you say, we've been in business almost 9 years now, and I think we finally got to a stage where, for the first year, for example, this now 2015, we were profitable. So we've become the first profitable Saudi airline known to man, which is great. So, and 70% of that profit came from the kingdom. So we've proved that it can be done. We've proved it so much so now that there are 3 competitors eager to get in on the game. We'd be delighted to see them coming. One of those competitors is going to work the northern airports and open up a base in a city called Hyle. So there's 27 different airports in this country. We operate 10 of them at the moment. We're about to open next March Al Juf. So we're looking to expand sensibly, profitably within the region, and more importantly within the country. And we see our job as to provide a service, a profitable service to the people of Saudi Arabia, to connect businesses and families. And we're very happy with the way things are going. We're very encouraged with the way the government has changed its thinking. We do still have a fare cap, which is in position until 10 days before departure. We could do without that, quite frankly, because we don't see any other subsidy from the government. We're aware that Saudi have been in business over 70 years, which is the maturity that you speak of in the marketplace. But I think what we're doing is we're bringing a fresh face to that and giving the people of Saudi Arabia choice, which is really important in the airline business. We operate something in the region of 120 to 150 flights a day, depending on the time of the year, and 2 of those flights have no competition. So, you know, we're well used to competitiveness, and that's what the business is about. And the more the merrier, quite frankly, because you mentioned earlier the love affair the Saudi has with the car. We see this as we want to be the other woman. We want to bring people onto the airplane and get you flying safely around the kingdom. So, yes, to answer your question,
and is it affordable for a lot of people? I mean, obviously for the business people, kind of people in this room, it would be easy for them to use that. But I mean, how affordable is air as a means of travel?
Our fares in the kingdom range from, we started around 110 riyals, which is quite cheap. It's less than $50. And we are fare capped. Let's take Riyadh, Jeddah, for example. Both ourselves and Saudi have a maximum fare of 310 riyals in economy class up to 10 days pre-flight. And we can increase that, and we do. And we try and make sure that we have seats available up to departure, which is a key element to making money. There's a phenomenal late demand in this country. It's scary sometimes when I sit and I look at the reports I get from my revenue management team that I've got maybe a 10% booked for next week, and they're telling me, "Don't worry, boss, it'll be full." And I don't worry.
And they're right.
Well, inshallah, yeah. There's some inshallahs are thrown in, but so long as there's only one inshallah per sentence, I'm happy. Yeah, so it's incredible. People will decide now to go to Jeddah tonight and tomorrow morning.
And what about airport capacity across the country, in the airports you operate in?
In most of the airports we can turn, in most of the so let's call them regional airports, we can turn an airplane in 30 minutes quite easily. That's a big challenge for us in Riyadh and Dammam. Currently, Riyadh and Jeddah. They're both experiencing large construction projects. There's a lot of demand in there, so we're hoping that this new Jeddah airport will release a lot of tension that we're seeing at the moment. The productivity I get because of that, I fly around 11 hours per aircraft per day. In Europe, I'd be fired if I did that. It's typically low costs look to get 13 to 14 hours a day out of an airplane, but this is because our 2 main airports are congested. That's the best we can plan for. So we're looking forward to the development SAGIA are putting in, and freeing up all this space, and the flying to the other airports once we can determine a profit.
Good, good. Faisal, we've talked so far mostly about the transport of people, the metro systems, airlines, and so on. But of course, as part of Saudi Arabia's drive to diversify its economy and to try to increase its manufacturing base, you also have to look at the movement of goods and the transport of goods. And I'm particularly interested and struck by the port at the King Abdullah Economic City and the new King Abdullah port, which it is said is not there to rival the Jeddah Islamic port, but really to try to push Jebel Ali at Dubai out of business, at least here in Saudi Arabia, because as things stand, I mean, it is really quite surprising, I think, to a lot of people that a lot of goods destined for Saudi Arabia have to come to the port in Dubai and then come into Saudi Arabia by land. And so the plan is now at the port to expand the port, and you're already getting in pretty large ships and so on. So maybe tell us a bit about infrastructure when it comes to, maritime and the port and the vision to build the new port at just outside Jeddah.
Okay, so actually King Abdullah port is complementing to the Jeddah airport, port. 95 of our imports move through ports, not plane or land. And we see a huge deficiency, even especially around the holiday period, when there is a delay in the port. The ship will come from Suez Canal, will go down to Aden, and then all the way to Dubai. Now, this will be cut to, I don't know the exact number, the figure, but I think it's half the time. Instead of 1 week, maybe it's 3 days, because it will come either to Jeddah port or to King Abdullah Economic City port, and you have the land bridge connecting to the east coast. So that's part of what we're doing. And I talked about the investment that's done. It's not majorly to improve and to add more ports, but to upgrade the current assets that we have in the maritime.
And are you happy? I mean, it's in terms of sort of automated procedures and offloading and that kind of thing, the logistics of it, because that's very important.
Actually, that's where they have the investment. It's not, it's just improving the process and automating the process.
And also, do you see that port perhaps as developing as a gateway, particularly into East Africa, which, you've got Port Sudan, of course, and Africa just across the water from the Red Sea very easily?
No, actually there is a third port that will be the gateway to Africa, which is the Jizan economic cities, because that's much closer to, it's the gateway to the African Horn. I'm sure you've heard about the Silk Road Initiative, and one of the key approach for Saudi is how do we leverage the Silk Road Initiative to pass by Saudi through Jizan into the African continent.
Yeah, very important, because of course in antiquity, control of the trade around that area was a huge bedrock, wasn't it, for a country's wealth and prosperity. So you do see that as part of the vision of becoming more competitive globally, is to be able to use these port facilities to send out
100%.
things, yeah. Paul, just coming back to air transport, I mean, air freight, is that something that also you believe it has got a great deal more potential in this country?
We've absolutely negligible amount of freight, and it's all just coming in from Dubai. Very little is exported from the kingdom. So we don't see freight as a big part of our business because we're regional. It's more, there is quite a large division of Saudi is cargo. They have 747s running things, but they tend to go to Europe, we don't. So as far as cargo is concerned, it seems to be more of a road issue in Saudi Arabia than air.
So are there any questions that we would like to take from the floor? One hand there. There are some roving microphones. And also, could we have one microphone there to this gentleman here in the white? And if you stand perhaps and introduce yourself. Thank you, number 3. Can I see any other hands? Got about 20 minutes left in this session. Any other hands? And one hand there, okay. We'll take a couple at a time. So please introduce yourself and organization if relevant.
My question for the gentleman from Flynas. And okay, I'll try to phrase it in a non-challenging way. You see more and more foreign airlines reaching out to airports that are seen to be domestic. For instance, Turkish Airlines is reaching now for maybe 6 or 7 airports, and they're requesting access to more airports in Saudi. How do you see that as a matter of competition to airlines that are supposed to be working domestically? And what do you think the kind of protection on a regulatory framework needs to be addressed?
Okay. Let's take that straight away. The
Thank you.
regulatory framework and
Okay,
the
so we
foreign
see, we see an awful lot of airlines, as you say, not just Turkish Airlines, but opening a lot of direct international flights from the regional airports. This is something that the regional airports, as you can imagine, are encouraging, because they would have to fly with me up to either Riyadh or Jeddah and then fly internationally. Again, it's just part of that whole competitiveness element that we have in the business. I would never recommend that the government tries to regulate it too heavily, because once you start to get into too much regulation, you get into hardship for the customer. So it's up to people like myself to find those areas and start to fly them myself once I can expand my fleet. And if I don't, well, that's a lesson learned. There's a huge appetite in Saudi Arabia for international travel, and I know my limits. I know what I can provide and what I cannot provide. So there's always everywhere I go, people tell me you should fly from A to B, and because this airline is doing it and that airline is doing it. I say good luck to them. At the moment, I'm happy where I am. Inshallah, I'll have enough time and money to get into those airports and compete with them, and give those cities the service they deserve.
Thank you. Okay, there was another question there.
So we heard about 2018 plans for Metro. What is the latest and greatest regarding the GCC rail project, more for the region and then additionally for the Bahrain Causeway?
Okay, thanks. We'll keep that in our head. Somebody else had a microphone here, question here, and there's one here. Smiling, charming gentleman here in the spectacles and his friend next to him. Yes, thank you. And was there one there? Okay.
No?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Be my guest.
As far as opening up the country for visitors, first of all, my name is Fahad al-Taghaiter, and I write in Al-Hayat newspaper. One of the programs for the transformation of the economy and the country is inviting and opening up the doors for tourism. What is SAGIA doing in terms of pushing for regulations to ease up the use of the visa, or to make the visa issued in Saudi entry ports to encourage more visitors, especially from the friendly countries that we have good relationships in terms of trade and business.
All right, thank you. Should we take the Metro one first? Perhaps, Philippe, you could answer that on the ambitions for the GCC Metro and Bahrain in particular.
Yeah, we're not I think every city in terms of public transportation now in the Middle East are looking at a different plan. We've discussed about Saudi. It's the same thing also in the different other countries around Saudi. I think the model is Dubai. Dubai last year they reached 500 million passengers for the full year, which is obviously sending a strong signal, because there was some doubt at the beginning as to whether people will move away from their cars or from other type of transportation, taxis to the metro. But what we can see in Dubai is that it's progressing well. With regard to the GCC link, unfortunately, I don't have much information on this one, as we're not involved. We know that we've been involved in few discussion on the signaling system, but unfortunately, I don't have more information on where they stand. apologize.
Okay. Deputy Minister, you wanted to say something about the metro in Mexico?
Yes, at the beginning it was a federal investment, but now it's a local investment. The local government is in charge to develop, to construct, and to administrate all the metro system in the Mexican city. As you know, Mexico City has about 20 million people walking all day, so we really need a metro. But we have a real problem because the metro is subsidized by the local government. The cost is approximately 25 cents of dollar, so it doesn't cover not investment, but also not the cost of the tree. And we need so many new investments, and we have to. This is a question in the Mexican city. If we have to pay more for the metro, or to construct other ways of traveling, or what we can do, because now we don't have resources, and the local government doesn't have enough resources to develop all we need.
To maintain the subsidies. So how much is it for an average metro journey in cents, dollar cents, roughly? Do you know?
Well, we have many lines of metro through all the city, but the cost of one trip, I don't know how much it is, but we only pay 25 cents of dollars. So
about 25 cents, US cents.
Yeah. So we had a question. Not we, but the local government has to ask what they can do.
You know, in the United Kingdom, they have this trend now in the Labour Party for the shadow cabinet to use the London Underground and to say, no, we don't want to have chauffeur-driven cars. So, but anyway, I'm not going to ask you how you get to work, Deputy Minister. But there was a question about tourism for you, Faisal. That's a key objective is to try to encourage tourism to the country.
Okay, yeah, we do recognize that issuing visa for expatriates it's an issue. If you look at the law in the book, is that you will get a visa within 24 hours. And most ambassadors and most embassies I talk to, they say that we apply this law, and the reason for delay is maybe people will have incomplete information or incomplete documents. But it's been a work in progress. We've came a long way with the visa processing, and there are even more ambitious plans. We've all heard of the Riyadh City Airport, Jeddah City Airport. Our idea or our ambition is that you will go as far as issuing the visa at the airport when you arrive in Riyadh and Jeddah, and that's the reason why they're establishing these cities, because we do recognize, not only in tourism, in business, sometimes you have last-minute meeting and you cannot afford to wait to go and apply for a visa and get a visa and then travel to the country.
So you're doing something about that. Good. Yes, question there, and then one there. Anybody there? Oh, one there, yes. I'm sorry, my peripheral vision is lacking. Okay, take that one first. You've been waiting.
Okay, Riyad Najm, Chairman of Saudi Media Measurement Company. My question is to the CEO of Flynas. Now, we know that there are 2 new airlines that have been licensed to compete with you in the domestic routes. First, how do you see yourself positioned to compete with these 2 licensed airlines, and when is that going to happen?
Okay, thank you. Take the one behind. If you give the microphone there, in the meantime, we'll take that one.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Faridi and Assistant Professor, Prince Satam University. Seeing the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the connections from city to city is well connected. The highways are pretty good. So with the existing infrastructure, the innovation and possibility of more of collaborative consumption can take place, where in the commercial segment where there can be pooling in perspectives which may reduce the cost of the supply chain. Thank you very much.
So reduce the cost of the supply chain. Okay, should we take the Flynas one first about the when we might see the new?
Well, with the first question, I'll answer the first part first. We see ourselves in an excellent position to deal with any competition that comes our way. We don't believe that the demand-based airlines, Saudi Gulf, are really chasing the same market as ourselves. I had the opportunity to go on their aircraft, which they had parked in Bahrain last weekend. Absolutely beautiful, but certainly if they charge my prices, they'll go broke. Al-Maha, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, if they're ever going to show up. But if they do, they're most welcome. Like there's close to 30 million people in this country. At least 40 to 60% of them can afford to get on a plane. So it's a huge market. I don't pretend to have the ability to fly everyone, and I don't want to. But I will fly the people who want to fly with me, and you know, we'll, again, as I said, consistently, we'll try and do it profitably, and where it makes sense for us to fly. But the competitive element, it's always with us in the airline business, and we wish them well if they come along.
Thank you. Philippe, do you want to answer the question? I wasn't quite sure about the connectivity and how...
Briefly, because we're not deeply involved into the freight, at least in the Middle East, in the freight business, only on the signaling side for freight lines. But I think, as we discussed earlier, linking the port of the King Abdullah Economic City, the land bridge, bringing the natural resources close to the port and vice versa, will definitely reduce the cost of the supply chain, and it is something I think that as part of the planning of the kingdom, I think it's been seen in the last few years that it's quite important to make those links, and I think this is currently ongoing.
We talked about improving rail freight, didn't we? And you know, the connectivity. So I think we'll take that as part of the answer. Yeah, there was a chap here. Yeah. Far away. Just
Hello?
speak
Yes.
into it.
Okay. My question is for Mr. Bafarat from SAGIA. We know that this 200 billion that will be spent over the next 10 years will be mainly towards large global conglomerates. But how can SAGIA play a role in ensuring that those international conglomerates engage Saudi local businesses in the sector of the SME sectors to actually help them in terms of growth and get them a piece of that pie?
Okay, thank you. And yeah, and any more?
Good afternoon. My name is Tarek Solomon from Shams Technologies. This is a general question, but they're saying the Riyadh Metro and the bus transit system is looking to create an upwards of 15,000 new jobs and deliveries by 2018. What is SAGIA and the companies involved doing to help train and create those jobs and the positions so we can sustain the metro and it lasts as long as it should?
Thanks. We're running short of time, so yes, quickly if you would. And then you wanted a second. You've already spoken. Okay, fine. I'm generous. Yeah. Number two. Yeah.
Marhaba, my name is Tahir Aguil, I'm financial advisor. My question is in the aviation sector. I was wondering with Flynas as a private aviator here in the kingdom, how level is the playing field competing with a government-owned entity in Saudi in terms of all aspects? How level is the playing field today, and what would be the advice to enhance the aviation sector here in the kingdom? And I think I would like to address this question to Paul and to Bafarat.
We're running short of time, so we may just give that to Paul very quickly, very, very quickly. While you're getting the microphone, do you want to pick up the SME ones? What are you going to make sure it's not just international conglomerates, and also maybe at the same time address the issue of the jobs and the skills that are needed to maintain this new infrastructure?
Okay, it's true the investor who will be developing the metros are the big companies, but part of what we're doing is we're no longer evaluating the tender that we're getting from investor based on price and specification only. What we do also, we evaluate them based on their contribution to the economy, their training, the supply chain that they bring with them, and how they grow the SMEs. So that's already been taken care of in the current contract award. And on the training program, actually the bulk of the spending of the metro is going into maintenance and operation. And again, looking into who we award the operation and maintenance to, we look at who is going to develop the talent, and because these are the people that are going to stay and make sure the metro runs for longer time, and how much Saudization they're going to have, and they have the right caliber and right talent to run these metros.
Thank you. Very quickly, level playing field between Flynas and Saudi.
Thank you. The short answer is it's not a level playing field, you're right. Our competitor receives a subsidy for their fuel, we don't. Yet both of our fares are capped. And the positive from my perspective is that GACA have recognized this and they're starting to reduce the subsidy and increase the size, the gap between the fare caps. My advice to them, do it quicker, please.
Great. Final point, very quickly.
A question on aviation for Mr. Bafarat.
Yeah.
Do you see any of the Saudi airports, either existing or undergoing of development, is going to be a competitive hub airports to the hub airports that we see in the region? Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Kuwait, Bahrain now signed last week.
Yeah, quickly, as I mentioned, I see both Saudi, Jeddah and Riyadh. And the reason that I say it is the plan that we're having behind Saudi, Jeddah and Riyadh, building a full city to support the airport. It's called Riyadh Airport City and Jeddah Airport City.
Thank you so much indeed. Thank you very much, Paul, Philippe, Faisal and Deputy Minister, for that very, very interesting session there on the race against time for transport. And just to say, before you all go, please do move to the Invest Saudi exhibition area for 3 workshops, and it's first come, first served, so do make your way there if you want to go to one of the workshops. The rest of you, though, do please leave this plenary hall so they can set up for lunch, to which, of course, you're all welcome. It's been my pleasure. I will see those of you who are still here later, but for now, please thank our panel. Thank you very much.